The world is a baffling place where all manner of baffling things can happen. Nobody will ever truly wrap their head around what the world is capable of. Not even scientists. If these phenomena weren't recorded, no one would believe it. These are strange natural phenomena that happened on Earth. Number 20. Lava flowing down the streets of Hawaii. This terrifying and mesmerizing phenomenon occurred in Hawaii. Waterfalls are quite common and unique to the area, but have you ever heard of a lava fall? That must be where the devil goes to unwind on his holiday. It all started on June 27th when the Kilauea volcano decided to erupt and started spitting a steady flow of fiery lava.
Would you get away from there?
The lava flow actually traveled more than 13 miles for over a month, and on the day this footage was taken, it had reached the rural town of Pahoa, where it was casually crawling around, destroying cemeteries and homes as it went. Because let's be honest, who in their right mind would stop a river of bright red lava? You kinda have to let it do its thing, no other option there. And eventually, this curious flow neared the Pahoa Transfer Station, which is a county-owned public facility building, and it easily burned through a wire fence in order to get to the hills on the video, thus forming these curious lava falls. The lava eventually consumed the entire slope, even pulling parts of the fence along with it before eating through the asphalt road below. Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now, it's time for the odd topic. If you were to just take a passing glance at this photo, you'd probably think it showed a wave crashing over the Florida coastline. Devastating, terrifying, right? Well, actually, no, because this tsunami's not made of water, it's made of clouds. A curious and natural phenomenon. These photos were taken by J.R. Hott, a helicopter pilot. As you can see, the clouds have come together in an odd wave-like shaping, giving the impression that they're swooping around and engulfing the buildings. Super cool. If this phenomenon wasn't recorded, no one would have believed it. I know I sure wouldn't. As always, comment down below with the hashtag oddtopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 19. Zhangyi Dangxia Landform. This is one of the most beautiful places on the entire planet. The Zhangyi National Geopark is located in the northern part of China, pretty much midway along the border with Mongolia. The park encompasses an impressive area of 124 square miles, and it rests in the foothills of the magnificent Kilian Mountains. It is known worldwide for its stunning display of colors across its hills and rock formations. It's considered the most breathtaking landscape for the Chinese people as well. Here, the hills and unusual rock formation look like a giant has carefully painted them with a very fine brush. But in reality, the layers of color were actually created by sandstone and minerals being layered one on top of the other over hundreds of years. Every time the tectonic plates shift, they create an angled, painted layer across the hills. Years of rain and wind have also further sculpted the mesmerizing rock formations and the beautifully rolling hills. In other words, the erosion and tectonic plates have worked together to give us this magnificent masterpiece of Mother Nature. Being here is like being in an imaginary world far away from this planet. Number 18. Ice penitents. Their name comes from the Spanish word for penitent-shaped snows. They are snow formations that can only be found at very high altitudes. They basically look like snow swords sticking out of the ground in a very aggressive manner. They're elongated, thin blades of hardened snow or ice located very close together, and they're always pointing in the general direction of the sun. Their name comes from their clear resemblance to a field full of people kneeling down and doing penance. The pointy ice formations also evoke the pointed, tall, narrow, and white hats worn by brothers of Catholic religious orders in the procession of penance held every year during the Spanish Holy Week. The ice penitents can grow over all glaciated or snow-covered areas in the dry Andes, always above 4,000 meters in altitude. Some of these ice spires can reach up to 16 feet in height. Ice penitents were first cataloged by none other than Charles Darwin in 1839 in one of his scientific books. That's because on March 22nd, 1835, he had to squeeze his way through fields filled with snow penitents on his way from Santiago de Chile to the Argentinian city of Mendoza. Number 17. Morning Glory Cloud. This might just be the most elusive cloud formation on the whole planet Earth. In other words, if you catch one, you are a very lucky person. Imagine a giant snake made out of clouds crossing the sky. That is exactly what the Morning Glory Clouds look like. The only place in the world where they are a recurrent occurrence is the Gulf of Carpentaria in northern Australia, and they appear mostly during September and October. It isn't the only place on Earth where they occur, but it is the only place where they can be forecasted. Anywhere else in the world, they just show up whenever they feel like it. They are highly unpredictable. They're one of the most spectacular cloud formations known to mankind, though, so they're really worth the trouble. The giant serpent in the sky can roll onto itself, and it stretches as far as the eye can see, sometimes for hundreds of kilometers. They're quite fast as well. Moving at 35 kilometers per hour towards you, it can be a little intimidating, and sometimes, hands down, scary. There can even be multiple cylindrical waves at once. They become a famous destination for pilots that want to surf the wave in the sky. Number 16. Light Pillars, Canada. If you're looking for a completely real, natural phenomena that looks exactly like if a fleet of UFOs were abducting people, look no further. This bizarre occurrence is actually an atmospheric optical phenomenon in which a vertical beam of light appears to extend either above and or below a light source. I mean, right? Even knowing that this thing is completely ordinary, the first thing in everyone's mind is aliens. But rest assured, they haven't come to get you just yet. This effect is created by the reflection of light from tiny ice crystals that are suspended in the atmosphere or that form part of high-altitude clouds. In other words, billions of tiny little ice crystals reflect the light of either the sun, in which case it's called a solar pillar, or by the moon, which I'm gonna guess is a lunar pillar. They can even appear through terrestrial sources such as streetlights. But one amazing fact is that each pillar tends to actually take the color of the light source. So with a couple of powerful lamps out there, anyone can create a whimsical environment of their choosing. Because these mesmerizing light pillars are caused solely by the interaction of light with ice crystals, they actually belong to the family of halos. Number 15. Water Spout. This is a water spout, or in other words, a very intense columnar vortex that usually happens over a body of water. They are always connected to a cloud, but in general, they do not suck up the water. They are considered as non-supercell tornadoes over water. They're usually quite small and weak. It's just a little column of air rotating. More often than not, they're a lot weaker than their land counterparts. Although stronger water spouts can occur when they're spawned by a mesocyclone. They look very terrifying, but in reality are not really a threat at all. But they look very intimidating, especially if they're formed near the coast, for example. In this video, you can see that the sky is very blue and it's a gorgeous day. But there in the middle of the horizon there's this threatening looking dark gray cloud tornado moving around completely unpredictably. It can be a little impressive, to be honest. If they get momentum, water spouts can easily flip sailboats, so whatever you do, don't swim towards them. They usually form in tropical areas, but in the winter, you can have a snow devil or an ice spout. They are extremely rare water spouts that form under the base of a snow squall. Number 14. Frost Flowers. The winter season is almost upon us. You know, the walks in the woods, breathing that crisp and clean air. And Mother Nature also enjoys the wintertime. So much so, she actually makes ice sculptures. If you happen to live nearby a creek or next to the woods where frostweed grows, look out for frost flowers. They look like spun glass or cotton candy. You have the most chance of catching a glimpse of them in the very early hours of the morning, as frost flowers are very ephemeral and they tend to melt away as soon as the morning sun comes out. Frost flowers form when the air temperature is freezing, but the ground is still warm enough for the plant's root system to be active and not dormant. That means that the plant juices travel up towards the stem, but there, the ambient temperatures are too cold, so the juices actually freeze them. The ice crystals are actually coming from the plant's moisture. They push through the stem from a very thin slit, forming a ribbon-like strand, or they can also literally split open an entire section of the stem. Number 13. Mayfly Invasion. This looks like a scene straight out of an 80s horror movie. What you're seeing here is not dirt, no, it's a mayfly invasion. It happened in June 2019 in Northeast Ohio, where billions of mayflies were swarming absolutely everywhere. The swarm was so massive and intense, it was actually captured on the weather radar of CNN affiliate WOIO. Apparently, they were hatching from the waters of Lake Erie, where they had stayed for about a year or two as eggs. Eventually, they simply hatch and emerge to the surface of the water fully winged and ready to terrorize half a state. But according to the Ohio Sea Grant research, the mayflies won't be around for too long. An adult typically lives up to 2 days once they come on land, so a swarm of this unbelievable scale usually doesn't last more than a month, tops. Scientists also say that even though the swarm is annoying and quite frankly terrifying, it's a good sign that the waters of the Great Lakes are in good health. So if you think about it, you deal with the mayflies for a month a year, but then you get to fish all the fish you want and swim in a beautiful lake. That's not such a bad deal. Number 12. Ice Caves, Iceland. These caves are considered to be one of the most extraordinary and breathtaking wonders that this planet has to offer. To put things into perspective, when you're standing inside an Icelandic ice cave, you are quite literally standing inside a glacier. There's ice all around you. You can even hear it creaking. A glacier is, in fact, a vibrant, moving, alive phenomenon of nature, and there's no better way of understanding that than when you are visiting its entrails. But careful, the ice caves can only be visited from November to March. Only then has the weather in Iceland been consistently cold for enough time to make the caves stable. But how are these amazing caves formed? Basically, they develop when meltwater runs under or through a glacier, thus melting the ice and leaving behind a cavern or a passageway inside the glacier. As you can imagine, this occurs mainly during the summer months, when the sun melts the ice at the top of the glacier away. That water will then travel to the bottom of the glacier, creating channels or conduits. But these channels or conduits are insanely huge. For those who haven't seen a glacier before, the cavern left by meltwater can be as wide as 10 meters, if not much more. Number 11. Colorful Rainbow Eucalyptus. The scientific name for this beautiful tree is Eucalyptus deglupta, and it's a species of tall tree. It's also called rainbow gum, and it lives in Indonesia, the Philippines, and Papua New Guinea. To stand in a forest of rainbow eucalyptus is like being inside of a Vincent van Gogh painting. The bark seems to be painted by a very talented artist, but in fact, that's just its natural color. You can see purples, greens, red, oranges, and blue colors in the trunk of the trees. But how come it has so many colors? Well, it seems the tree changes color over time, which is what gives it its kaleidoscopic appearance. It starts off as bright green when the tree is very young, but as the bark gets exposed to the elements, it changes to red, then orange and purple, and finally brown as it matures. After it turns brown, the bark sheds and the entire process starts once again, over and over. Nowadays, the rainbow gum trees are being planted all over the world to decorate streets and parks and even private gardens. They are an all-time favorite, and it's easy to see why. They look like something out of a whimsical fairy tale. Number 10. Spotted Lake, Canada. This magical lake in British Columbia, Canada, quite literally looks like it has a giraffe animal print outfit on. It owes its unique appearance to the high concentration of various minerals. It contains rich deposits of magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfates. It also contains deposits of titanium and silver. Cool, huh? During the summer season, most of the lake's water evaporates because it's an endorheic lake, meaning that neither a river nor a sea provides it with water. Once all the water's gone, all the different deposits of colorful minerals find themselves exposed from the outside. Each spot or circle that has a different color is basically just a deposit of a different mineral, as each mineral has its own specific color. Some are blue, white, yellow, or even blue and green. The native people of the Okanagan Valley consider the Spotted Lake to be sacred and traditionally have used its water to heal pain. A company tried to build a spa there, but the native people fought the fight of conserving their sacred place untouched, and they actually won. Today, the lake is easily accessible and is open to any visitors. When the water's evaporated, you can even walk around the walkways formed in between the colorful spots. Number 9. Bioluminescence. Welcome to nature's most breathtaking light show. This amazing display of beauty occurs at Jarvis Bay in Australia. This place is filled with wonderful things such as crystal clear water, white sand, whales, and also bioluminescence. It is known as the blue tide, and it basically happens when bioluminescence makes the ocean glow blue, green, and sometimes even bright red. But what exactly is making the ocean glow like that? Bioluminescence is nothing other than a natural chemical reaction that occurs inside a living cell, allowing it to generate light. Many things on our planet Earth can generate it: sea creatures, mushrooms, and more. In this case, the responsible party for the sea of stars is actually a tiny little phytoplankton called Lingolodinium polyedrum. And because the phosphorescence only occurs when the plankton is agitated, they only glow at the cusp of the waves, or if you go for a swim, they'll shine all around you for every move you make. It is one of the most magical animal phenomena known to humankind. Scientists think that the plankton has evolved to glow in order to startle or scare away fish that might want to eat them, so it's basically a defense mechanism. Number 8. Sky Punch, Canada. They look like a giant took a stroll over the sheets of clouds and left behind some footsteps. They are a very rare cloud formation called fall streak holes. Some people even believe they are linked to UFO activity, but in reality, they are just another perfectly natural occurrence. But why? How come the sky can sometimes have gigantic holes in the clouds? Well, they actually appear as a result of something called the Bergeron process, and how that goes is very simple. Clouds are made out of vapor, which means that they're basically a collection of water droplets in a half-condensed state. For the Bergeron process to happen, those droplets need to be at a temperature of below zero, but without becoming ice or snow. It all depends on the pressure conditions. In other words, if the droplets have nothing to adhere to, that means that they can't really freeze all the way. Therefore, they just stay there, suspended, just in the form of really cold water droplets. But, and this is the cool part, when some of that vapor finally does turn to ice, it provides the rest of the droplets something to adhere to, and thus triggering an en masse freezing of a very large portion of a cloud. It happens very quickly in a massive chain reaction, and it leaves behind a huge hole in the cloud. Number 7. The supercell. This is the mother of all thunderstorms. Supercells are characterized by a deep, persistently rotating updraft. It looks absolutely intimidating, even hands down frightening at times. They are also called rotating thunderstorms, and they are exactly as that sounds. They are the overall least common type of storm, but at the same time, they pack the potential of being the most severe. They exist completely independently of any other type of thunderstorm, and they can easily dominate the local weather for up to 20 miles away. The good news about these scary-looking occurrences is that they don't tend to last very long. On average, a supercell will live for about 2 to 4 hours. Imagine if you were on the verge of a glitch in the universe and you could take a peek at another parallel reality that looked like something out of a horror movie. That is exactly what a supercell looks like. Looking at it from the outside, it feels like looking at another reality. One that's violent and dark and very, very dangerous. They are mostly common throughout the Great Plains of the United States in an area called Tornado Valley. That should give you an idea of how hostile supercells can actually be. Number 6. Aurora Borealis. This natural phenomena has caught the attention and won the hearts of many people over the course of history. Many travel from the other side of the world just to get a glimpse of nature's beauty in all its glory. They are also known as the polar lights because they only occur in high-altitude regions around the Arctic and the Antarctic. Auroras display dynamic and vibrant patterns of very bright lights that appear as curtains, rays, spirals, or playful flickers that cover the entire night sky. But how do they work exactly? Well, they're the result of disturbances in the magnetosphere caused by solar wind. In other words, auroras are caused by disturbances that alter significantly the trajectory of charged particles. These charged particles are mainly electrons and protons. You know, what you'll also find in the atoms that make up your body and literally everything in the universe. When these particles get disturbed, they precipitate into the upper atmosphere, causing the excitation of atmospheric constituents, thus emitting light. But did you know that auroras don't only occur on our planet Earth? Actually, most planets, natural satellites, brown dwarfs, and even comets host these wonderful natural phenomena. Number 5. Fields of Webb. Warning, if you suffer from arachnophobia, don't watch this video or you'll have nightmares for weeks. This terrifying footage was taken in northern Australia in 2015. What you see are actually thousands upon thousands of spider webs, literally covering an entire field. This happens once a year. In the town of Goulburn, they quite literally have a flying migration of spiders. Yeah, you heard that right. And yeah, we are sorry to announce that some spiders have the ability to fly. But how? Well, they actually manufacture a sort of flying device with their spider silk and then let themselves be elevated with the wind. It almost sounds romantic, but when there are millions of spiders in the air floating around you, trust me, it isn't. And in this region of Australia, they have to deal with this eerie phenomenon every year. They see coming an endless army of flying spiders that end up covering absolutely everything in spider webs. They are harmless spiders, but you might want to grab your umbrella nonetheless. The spiders actually do this to migrate. They send out their spider webs into the air to catch the wind, and off they go. The thing is, they all do it at the same time, and there are lots of them. Number 4. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. This place looks like most people imagine heaven to look like. So if you want to see how you like living in heaven before you actually have to move there, you might want to take a trip to Bolivia. Salar de Uyuni is truly a magical place. It's considered to be one of the most extreme and remarkable vistas in all of the South American continent, if not the whole world. It stretches more than 4,000 square miles of the Altiplano, making it the world's largest salt flat by far. It used to be a prehistoric lake that evaporated a long time ago. And now there's a thick crust of salt rising from the ground everywhere you look, extending to the horizon. At certain times of the year, nearby lakes overflow and a thin layer of water covers the salar, making it reflect the sky. In a way, it's the planet's largest mirror for the stars. Horny, I know. But this place is not only stunning and otherworldly, it also serves a very lucrative purpose. The smartphone or laptop that you're watching this video from, that's powered thanks to an element called lithium, as in lithium batteries. And this place is a hot spot for that stuff. They also extract salt, of course. Number 3. Catatumbo Lightning, Venezuela. Welcome to the most thunder-stricken place on Earth. It is Venezuela's eternal thunderstorm. For the past few centuries, the region where the Catatumbo River empties into Lake Maracaibo has sustained lightning for around 150 nights a year. Sometimes it can go for 10 hours a day and as much as 300 lightning strikes per hour. To be here is to hear the roar of Mother Nature in all its glory. And let me tell you, she isn't necessarily pleased. Scientists actually believe that the storm is caused by a perfect storm of cold and warm currents. I know, ironic, right? But in reality, scientists don't really know yet why there's such a high concentration of lightning in this particular spot. They have been studying for quite some time the impact of methane on the storms, as there are large regional oil deposits and swamplands that emit large quantities of methane gas into the atmosphere. As you might already know, Venezuela is the country with the biggest oil deposits in the whole world, so there would be an unusual quantity of methane in the air. But for whatever reason, this place is absolutely unreal. Just imagine living with the constant rumble of lightning. At nighttime is when this unique phenomenon is the most spectacular, as the night sky lights up incessantly. Number 2. Sailing Stones, Death Valley. Death Valley National Park is located in California, and the name might sound very scary, but actually it comes from the first group of researchers that ever went there, and one of them tragically died, hence the name Death Valley. But the phenomenon that occurs here is short of defying the laws of physics. In this valley in the desert, rocks literally move on their own. And no, it's not special effects. Some rocks there in fact have the ability of sliding on their own. They even leave behind tracks that can sometimes be several meters long. But if this isn't magic, how's it possible that a heavy, massive rock can simply just take a little stroll? Well, scientists think that it's actually the very strong winds and the very thick ice that's found in the valley. When the pockets of ice start melting, they cause movement in anything that interacts with them, and that can be a very big rock at times. That is why objects weighing hundreds of pounds can slide on the ground seemingly on their own. And that's why they're called sailing stones, because in a way, they kind of sail through the desert sand like a boat on the ocean. But for those who don't know the scientific explanation, seeing a massive rock move on its own can be extremely spooky. Number 1. Pando Aspen Grove, Utah. The pando tree is a very difficult phenomenon to comprehend. From the outside, it looks like a perfectly normal forest, but in fact, it is all part of the same tree. It's located in Utah's Fish Lake National Forest. The tree spans 106 acres, the equivalent of 80 football fields. It has an intricate root system. In a way, every single tree that you see are, more accurately, branches of one gigantic trunk under the ground. It is, in fact, the largest living organism known to humankind on the entire planet. It actually grows by cloning itself, which means that each trunk, branch, and leaf is genetically identical to the rest. This could be a very good premise for a sci-fi movie, but it is very real. This one particular pando tree is so big that scientists believe it might be thousands of years old. But this pando clone is starting to die, but not for environmental reasons. Imagine a human community only consisting of elderly people. Sooner or later, that community is gonna disappear, right? Well, that is exactly what's happening to this pando clone. It's just too old to carry on. So if you want to see the largest living organism on Earth, you should book your tickets now. As you can see, the world is full of bizarre, whimsical, unrealistic phenomena that, if they weren't recorded, it would be difficult to accept them as real. Can you think of anything that you wish was real but hasn't been discovered yet? Tell us about it. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time!